Previously on Ill-Equipped History. Now let's go see how a whole generation grabbed a joystick and got juiced up on video games. Pretty much it was the first video game that could be played on multiple computer installations, because he would send it through the early internet to other universities, and they would play the game as well.
Neat. That's so cool.
And 62.
My brain.
The next big name to come out during this first generation was a little company called Atari. So it became like normal for women to like come up to men and be like, "Do you want to play Pong?" Like it was like a flirty thing. I don't know.
That's so funny.
Could you imagine just being like, "Oh, I think he's cute. I wonder if he plays Pong." A dude named Steve Jobs just showed up at Atari one day and was asking for a job. That dude said that they were no more important to the game than the people putting it together on the assembly line.
But that doesn't make any sense because they're all important to the process. And also they're designing the games.
They changed it to Pac-Man, and here Pac-Man stays. And it was the first time that a video game actually had a character with a name, with a personality. Within the next 2 years, Warner got rid of Atari and completely got out of the video game business. Atari is, like you said, still around today. They've had ups and downs, changed hands a lot of times, and things of that nature, but they are still around. They've scraped by. But this led to the bankruptcy of a ton of these computer and video game console companies. Like Mattel got out. I think the Odyssey got out. Coleco, pretty much all of them. So we're at an all-time low for video games, which I did not know happened. And at this, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you in 1983. Welcome to Ill-Equipped History, where two best friends talk about shit. Hey, I'm Emily.
I'm Morgan. Hello.
We're having a weird start here.
Yeah.
We were grossing each other out before we started recording, and y'all are so lucky you didn't hear that conversation.
Yes, thankfully we didn't hit record to go on our blooper reel either, but we were talking about real gross stuff. So consider yourselves lucky.
You're very lucky. Do you want to hear something gross? That's not as bad as we were talking about. But last week, Parker, our dog, he's 9 years old now. He got one of those like old dog growths on his forehead, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually we were like, we got to get this thing cut off. So he had surgery last Monday, which is a week from recording. So it's been a solid 7 days. And everything was going fine. Looked cool. He had his little stitches on his forehead. I told him he's going to get all the cool chicks with that scar on his forehead. It's going to be cool. And then we had taken his cone off of him for some reason, probably to eat, because the poor boy couldn't eat with the cone on. It was too long. And he walked up to Nick, and Nick's sitting on the couch. And all I hear from Nick is, "Oh my God, Parker, your stitches." I don't know what the heck he did, but he popped like 4 of those stitches.
Oh, no.
And I didn't realize that wound was that deep
Oh.
It was like a good solid half-inch down just on his forehead and like probably an inch wide open. It was like
Oh.
held together on the ends, but it was like open. And he's just like standing there wagging his tail like nothing.
Like he does, because he's just a happy, good boy.
And he would do that on a Sunday when no one's open. So we tried everything we could because not a lot sticks to dog fur in the form of like bandages, but it turns out just like the Band-Aids that are supposed to go on your fingertip and they like fold over weird. Yeah. That worked really good. And we just like slapped his cone on him and we had to go to my parents for dinner. We just took him with us to monitor. And then I just showed up at the vet this morning and was like, help. And he was awake for this. They numbed it really good and then put staples in it. So it's like extra durable.
This will not pop.
No, it should not. And he's got another 10 days and I trimmed his cone so he could eat with it on. I'm like, we're not doing this again. It was so bad. And he had to be he's now on antibiotics because it was like open for like 24 hours or whatever. But yeah, he's fine now. He didn't notice any difference. He got pettins and got to go for a Jeep ride, so he was fine.
Oh yeah, I don't think he really feels pain either. The amount that dog has gone through, and he's just like, yeah, this is fine. I'm just happy.
This is fine. I'm good. This is all good. But when he had that growth on him, Marin would literally smack it, and it would be bleeding, and he's just like, hey!
It's fine. You know, speaking of the vet, I had my own adventure with the vet myself. Jack while Kyle and I were at work, he got into stuff that he should not have. Oh, no. And got super sick. Was like vomiting and it was so scary. So if y'all know Jack, y'all know that he is a spoiled princess. He always has to be on something comfy wrapped in blankets. Like, he has about 5,500 beds and throughout our house. He's got the couch. He's got like his little perch on the couch. So I come home Friday afternoon and I see my dog just laying on the floor in the kitchen.
I would have thought he died.
I did. I was like, Jack? Jack? I thought he was dead. Thankfully, he was not, but he was not okay. And thankfully, there's a 24-hour emergency vet in Nashville. So I had to take him there, and they're like, he'll be okay, but here's some anti-nausea medicine. Just keep an eye on him. He's going to be a little wonky. So he's fine now, but I about shit. And then just like everything else that's been going on in Nashville, like all week. Like last week, we had about 25 tornado warnings in one night, including the alerts on your phone that go brrr and make sure you wake up. They actually, the district in Nashville closed, and it never closes for inclement weather. Thankfully, no tornadoes in the Nashville area, and then it happened again on Saturday, and there were no tornadoes, but there was still a lot of damage and like up to 94 mile per hour winds, and just still continuous flooding. So it's just been a really fun week here.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
And our AC broke. So it's just been...
Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
We are just having the best time up here.
Oh my God. Well, I will say, before we get into it, this weekend, okay, so we haven't made this announcement yet, but we were invited to join the Athens Historical Society, and I went to my first meeting there. Unfortunately, their months are October to May, so I'm going to hit the last two, and then I'll pick it back up in October. But it was great.
That's awesome.
They had like a speaker there, and I'm definitely going to join. I haven't sent in the money and stuff, but I just wanted to shout out the Athens Historical Society, and thank you, Tyler, for the invite. It was really awesome.
Thank you.
And we're flattered that you loved all of our Athens stuff, and with a membership like this, we will get access to the Athens archives. So then, like, the county and, surrounding areas, we might be able to find some really cool stuff for y'all.
That's awesome.
Exciting.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So thank you. All right, guys, disclaimer. I'm dog sitting, and this dog loves me so much. Call each other best friend. That I am in a closet right now. She won't leave the closet, but she's also making a hell of a racket. So I'm really doing my best here. If you hear a dog or a bump, I swear everything is fine.
She just wants you to leave the closet with her so y'all can
she's
go
like,
hang out.
It's 9:30 already. I want to go to bed. Please come with me, best friend. But I am busy. Best friend is busy. Okay? So, so sorry if I can't edit that out. I literally moved into a closet to have a quiet space, and then that got ruined. So, we're going to do our best here. So,
yes.
Let's get into the skit for the day. Two friends are walking up to their school one Monday morning, chatting about their weekend, when another one of their friends comes up to them, excited.
Hey, guys, guess what? Hey, John, what's up? Look what I got.
John slips out a copy of the newly released Grand Theft Auto 5 from his backpack and quickly shows it to his friends. Whoa, no way! Your mom let you get that?
Yeah, she doesn't know what the ratings mean, though. I told her R stood for really good. Damn, dude, that worked? I don't think she really believed me, but she bought it anyway.
So, when can we play it?
Well, I was thinking we played a little hooky and went back to my house. What do you think?
Right now?
Yeah. My mom will kill me if she finds out I skipped and played an R-rated game. That's if she finds out. Come on, you guys. Live on the edge a little. We're sophomores in high school, practically adults.
Fine. We'll go. No one will suspect us skipping. We're not seniors, and it's not even senior skip day.
They'll never know.
The three friends leave the school grounds. They will inevitably get caught, like most teenagers do, but the time they spent playing GTA for the first time together will be the highlight of the year, even if they all did get grounded. Do you feel what I channeled?
Yes. That's some wholesome teenage rebellion right there.
Yeah. I might have, shout out to my brother, might have channeled my brother and my cousin. You know what? They had a good time. While me and Miss Goody Two Shoes went to school. I was a little butthurt they never asked me to join.
Well, you're a girl.
You're a girl. You're the little sister.
They have to keep your morals pure, I guess.
Oh, yeah. They were... my cousin is closer to a brother than he is a cousin, and they never liked anyone I dated. Never wanted me to get in trouble.
They're like, we'll do all the bad, stupid stuff, and you just be safe way over there and go to school.
There was one time Zach found out I was doing dumb shit, and he yelled at me more than my parents did. It's like, you're doing the same things.
Hypocrite.
It's just because he cares. Don't tell anyone, but he cares.
Aw, he
Aw,
loves you.
And if you want to know about Zach, go check out the NASCAR episode.
Yeah, he guest
was
stars in
there.
an episode.
He did. Okay, well, let's talk about video games.
Video games.
Video games, that's what I tell Nick. You're going to go play your video games? So this is part 2. If you have not listened to part 1, stop, drop, and roll. You need to go back to part 1. You need to go back to last week's episode. I'm sure you heard a good Cliff Notes version in the intro of this podcast. I'm sure I do a great job with that. But go back, because there's a lot of teeny tiny details that you're going to want. You're just going to want to know. It's going to make more sense. And where we left off, we are in Generation 3. And Generation 3 is between 1983 and 2002. I stopped the last episode kind of in the middle of Generation 3, and that's because that is when the crash happened. So the console crash is in full swing. The arcade versions are still way more popular than the consoles for a whole plethora of reasons, mostly cost. The technology isn't as good because they're trying to cram all that software into these tiny little consoles for home, and also just like really bad games going on the console market. Too many consoles are on the market. Like we said, I mean, even Mattel had one. So it was just oversaturation, bad games, all that. So the at-home consoles crashed. Now, at the time, like I said, arcades are really still popular. And PC games, actually, I don't really think they had a dip at all. Because of all the technology that a PC can hold, you can still have a good game on that. It's really the at-home consoles that have crashed in the United States. Like I said in the last one, we do not go into other countries because Japan's got its own thing going on.
Yeah, this is just a 2-part series, not like an entire like 10-part series like show, essentially.
I'm sure I mentioned it in the last episode, but there was a video on YouTube. I didn't watch it because it was honestly intimidating. It was 5.5 hours long, and it said the
so
full...
Crazy.
Why are you crying? You're literally touching me. We're touching. No.
Not close
no,
enough.
We're touching. You cannot become one with me. You cannot get under my skin, literally.
But that's what she wants.
I know. I'm just going to, I guess, put my hand on her. I don't know what to do here. Nancy, come get your dog. I'm just kidding. They're out of town. But, where was I? Oh, yeah. The 5.5 hour long video. And it was titled something like The Complete History of Video Games. So if, you want to go watch that for 5.5 hours, by golly, go do that. I couldn't.
Knock yourself out.
And if you find something interesting that you think we'll like, let us know. But we can't do that. So, okay. The console market's crashed. No one's really having a good time in the console market.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this point, the Commodore 64 comes out, and that is a computer. You could actually make your own games on it.
Oh.
And it came out in 1982, so a little before the 3rd gen, but I forgot to mention it in the last episodes, but it is very important to mention because this computer would go into the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest selling single computer model of all time.
Oh, wow. Of all time?
Yes.
Wow.
I forgot Commodore 64. I forgot how many sold. Because nowadays, between 12.5 to 17 million units sold worldwide.
Wow. That's so crazy, like, that it's beat out Apple. You know, like the Mac.
But it is saying this one model. How many models does Apple have? How many models does
That's fair.
Windows have? Or so this one model sold between 12 and 17 million. Why is my hand in your mouth? Why is my hand in your mouth?
She wants your undivided attention.
I don't know. I'm literally trying to pet you and she's gnawing on my fingers.
It's playtime.
Okay. Do they make doggy Benadryl?
You need some melatonin.
You can give dogs melatonin.
I didn't know that.
It is safe for dogs. And obviously small amounts. It's like based on weight.
Yeah.
But anywho. So, the computer games are popping off. And Nintendo sees an opportunity here with this console crash. And they're like, you know what? We're going to launch our own system. Because at this point, Nintendo had only been in the arcade business. If you think back to last week, we're thinking Donkey Kong, Mr. Stubborn Gorilla himself. And they had only been on arcade games. And if they did actually make it to a console, it was on someone else's console. So they decide to make their own console. And by 1985, they had the NES, or the Nintendo Entertainment System. Everyone thought they were freaking nuts. They were like,
that's so crazy to think of nowadays.
I know.
In retrospect.
What are you doing? Nobody's going to want to buy these consoles because the technology isn't there to make them good. What are you doing? And they were like, have you just thought about, I don't know, being better?
Fucking LOL.
Seriously, they were just like, have you thought about, I don't know, making the technology good?
Yeah.
Improving it with better graphics and sounds, literally just better everything. And they not only brought consoles back from the dead, but they had just brought in an entire new age of video games. And they just started over from scratch. With the NES, came out with Super Mario Brothers, and that was their big game. Obviously starring Donkey Kong, but they realized that Mario is popping off. So, freaking Super Mario Bros. In 1985. I don't think I realized it was that old of a game. So, get in your airplane and let's take a little flight to Russia real quick.
My airplane. Okay.
Your airplane. Okay.
I was about to, I don't even know what noise. I was about to go, chick, chick.
What is that?
Because that's the sound an airplane makes. That's like the gear shift of the airplane going. I can't even drive a stick. I don't know what I'm doing.
I can guarantee. I do know how to drive a stick, and I can tell you right now, it ain't that noise even for a car. And that's not how airplanes work. That's a seatbelt sound.
That's me in my airplane. This is what I invented before the Wright brothers stood there, so it can make whatever noise it wants to. Okay, Emily?
Yeah, you know what? That's fine. I'm sure it did. So, over in Russia, definitely don't want to be flying an airplane over there at the time, though, because it's definitely the commie party.
Yes.
So, a dude named Alexei Pajanov, I hope I said that right. He just really liked puzzles and like games that made you think.
Yeah.
So he took an old Russian puzzle game and just casually made Tetris.
Just
super cash.
Super cash.
Super cash. And it broke all these records. And the documentary, yes, the one from 2004, said something along the lines of, next to cocaine, it was the most addictive thing in the 80s. I was like, that is so inappropriate, but I like it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So in 1985, it originally was introduced on June the 6th of 1984, but by 1985, it had made it to the worldwide market. And within 2 weeks, it was everywhere. But Communist Party, they literally took the rights away from him for 10 years.
That's so crazy.
And they sold it around the world to make a profit for the Communist Party.
Right.
I don't remember, when did the Communist Party fall?
It was in the 90s. Like, it was like 1992.
Yeah.
Like the USSR.
Early. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I will say, because I have Tetris on my phone.
Yes.
I'm level 617. But in like the opening credits and stuff, it does say copyright Alexei Pajanov.
Good, because I'm going to pause with him right now. Actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and say it, just so we don't lose the flow later. Him and his family was murdered in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Very brutally murdered. There is a documentary out. I don't remember exactly which streaming service it is on. I haven't watched it. We really don't have time to get into his death or anything like that, and his family's death. But yeah, him and his wife and his son were killed.
I think, because I watched the documentary, if it's the same one you were thinking of, I think it's on Discovery Plus, potentially.
Okay.
It's called like the Tetris Murders.
Yeah. So I'm sure you can talk more about the quality of the documentary, but I do think it's very sus that not long after he got the rights back, it was probably a hit of some form.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was like murder.
I think it was a few years ago when I watched it, but I think that's kind of the lens that the documentary, it was definitely, I mean, not that no murder is not nefarious because it's murder, right, but it was like, there's something else going on here. It wasn't just like murder. It was murder for something, but it's a little sketchy. I don't remember details though.
Okay. Well, I hate that because it's just a dude that liked.
Yeah. And by all accounts, like he was like a sweet, very intelligent man that just loved puzzles, and like he had a lot of friends that loved him. So it was very senseless. Yeah. Yeah. So, moving on to Generation 4. The console's back, and Sega started looking into the business more. Now, Sega is short for service games. So, SE, service, GA games, Sega. And it was a company that actually took pinball machines into military bases
in Japan after World War II. By
Oh,
1986, it was a Japanese company. So
Okay.
again, another Japanese company just killing it. So they came out with the Sega Master System, and it originally just remade established arcade titles. It took them about 5 years for them to catch up and really come up with their own video games for the console. And
Okay.
within 5 years of the console crash, within 5 years, they were back. They were back.
Nice.
So, back to America. We've gone from Russia to Japan to America.
All over the world.
All over the world. A dude named Trip Hawkins worked for Apple. And he was being treated just like the Atari's developers were, but at Apple instead. So poorly. So Hawkins was like, fine. Fuck you, I do what I want. And he took off on his own. And he wanted to bring practices from Hollywood and bring them into games and make it more of an art form and not just, you know, whatever you would consider games. Because, I mean, I would consider them an art form to begin with, but he wanted to make them even artsier.
Yeah.
So, this is the beginning of EA.
Wow.
Yeah. EA stands for Entertainment Arts. I believe it is. I wrote it somewhere. Entertainment Arts.
Yes.
And his main focus was to treat these developers like they were artists. So they would get artist credits, much like the people in the last episode, I'm forgetting their names right now, that they were the first ones to create just software for consoles. Pretty much this vibe. He wanted to make sure that the people making the video games were treated well. It's
so ironic because EA is not that way anymore.
No.
It has a very bad reputation for treating artists and video game developers, unfortunately.
Well, I feel like you get big enough with
it's
enough
all about
time.
Money.
It's all about money.
Yeah.
So EA went to a floppy disk kind of situation instead of like a cartridge situation.
Okay.
And he wanted to make people buy their games. And he made them look like record albums. So.
Okay.
Artsy. And so he thought sports people would look really cool on covers. So he went to Larry Bird and Julius Erving, or Dr. J. And they were two very famous basketball players. So each Larry Bird and Dr. J both got $25,000 to be on the cover.
Wow.
And they ended up developing an entire game. This was the first basketball game like this. And it was Dr. J and Larry Bird go one-on-one. That was you literally got to play as Dr. J and Larry Bird and play one-on-one basketball.
That's cool.
And it was also, it was on the Commodore and the Apple II. It was a huge seller. So as of right now, PCs.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what? This whole sports thing is really working for me. Let me hit up John Madden real quick. And I want to make this football game. Now, there had been football games in the past. But real life football has 11 on 11 players. The football games in the past only played 7 on 7 because making those extra 4 players on each side is a lot of memory, a lot of developing. It's just harder, right?
Right.
John Madden was like, yeah, I would love to be like on your football game or whatever. But where the fuck are the other players? Like, no, you have to have 11 on 11 or it's not going to have my name on it. And by golly, they did. It was like almost impossible, but they did it. And in 1988 was the first version of Madden football. And they would develop a new version every single year.
And they still do.
And they still do. Madden every single year. My brother would be like, look at all these great changes. And I'm like, it looks the same as last year with different players. But I'm so happy for you, brother.
You will shell out $60 every year for the same game. Don't come at me.
For Christmas every year, the new Madden or the new NASCAR.
Or NBA 20 blank. There's a new NBA game every year too.
Yes. I played a lot of, I wasn't very good at the football because it was very technical and I didn't understand. Zach threw a lot of Hail Marys. I know that. I was garbage at the football. But gosh darn it, I could play those NASCAR games. Even though the graphics weren't the best. And after a while, I get very car sick. I would get car sick watching them because they're like shaking on the track. And I'm like, ugh.
Oh.
It's like, we gotta stop. I can't do this anymore. But sports ended up becoming an entire subdivision of the company, and it still is. I can hear that EA Sports, it's in the game, like, yes. To my core. It became one of their biggest and most successful subdivisions, but EA is such a big company now.
Yeah.
In 2003, their revenue topped $2.5 billion. In 2024, their net worth is $7.562 billion. So net worth.
That's so much money.
You have enough money to not treat your people like shit, so...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Get it together, EA.
Yeah, and stop rushing...
It's in the game.
Oh, I have, like, my own personal beef with EA a little bit, even though I was, like, super late to the party that, I'm not going to go into it because it's just a lot. But one of my favorite, like, two of my favorite franchises, they had games that were rushed out because of EA. Because EA was, like, the distributor and had, like, set it because the game company is pretty small. And so EA was, like, getting their games out there. And they were a very successful game series. And one of them just had a game come out, like, within the last year, and it had a very lukewarm reception, and people are like, man, like, if things had just been better, it's like, but it could have been if they hadn't been rushed, and it's just
oh, it's E.T. all over again.
Yeah
If you just don't rush your shit and care, you'll have more success.
Right.
So in 1989, a teeny tiny, and I do mean tiny, console came out called the Game Boy.
Yeah.
And Nintendo actually used Tetris to launch the Game Boy. And Tetris, because it's like cocaine, really helped establish the Game Boy. Tetris on a Game Boy is perfect. You take it everywhere. You only need a couple controls. It's perfect. This is what launched Nintendo into leaving all the other companies in the dust at the time. EA was like second in line, even though they didn't make consoles, but you know what I'm
still
saying.
a company,
like they were still like a very competitive company in this. But Nintendo was blowing everyone out of the water.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo's from like Game Boy on have done very well with their handheld consoles.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sega was hanging in there as well.
Yeah.
So in 1989, the same year, Sega launched the Genesis. And this is so... I love when companies have beef and they just call each other out. I eat it up. Because their slogan for the Genesis was, Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
How ironic.
I know. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And
womp, womp.
The Genesis, well, they had some success with the Genesis.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
the Dreamcast, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they rolled out Sonic the freaking Hedgehog with the Genesis.
Yeah.
That was like their mascot, because Nintendo at this point pretty much had adopted Mario as like their mascot.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of turned into every console needed like their kind of mascot. I mean, they needed a character that could be, when you think of Sonic, they want you to think of Sega, right? So, and they marketed, which is genius, they marketed the Sega and Sonic kind of more towards adults as well, to try to get a more broad audience. But Sega and Nintendo still didn't really have the processing capabilities of arcade games still.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to. And at this point, CDs were like popping their little heads out like we're a thing.
Yeah.
Now, personal computers had kind of beat them to the punch with the CDs. A CD can hold 320 times more data than a cartridge.
That's a lot.
Which is insanity.
Can I admit something to you?
Yeah?
I don't know how CDs work.
I don't either. I don't know.
I think there's a laser involved and they spin really fast.
A laser?
I think so. Like, listen. I think, you know how, like, there's a record, like, when you have a vinyl record and it has little doohickey? I think for CDs, it's the same thing, but the little doohickey is a laser. But I may be 100% wrong. I don't know. I know it's not an actual physical thing, so it scratched the shit out of the disc. But beyond that, I just don't know how technology works. Like, I watched a whole video about how, like, cassette tapes work. And, like, went into, like, how, like, the tapes record sound. And I'm like, no. I don't get it.
Okay. CDs and DVDs store data as microscopic pits and lands in a spiral track, which a laser reads to reconstruct digital information like audio or video. It's like a teeny tiny record.
Yeah. But I still don't understand. I don't understand how records work, honestly. Like, I know either. That the thing goes in the record and somehow it spins and it makes sound. But I don't... It's all witchcraft to me. It's all wizardry and magic. I don't understand. This is a history podcast, not a technology podcast.
There's a reason. There's a reason it's not a technology podcast, because we don't know.
Can you imagine us trying to sit here and explain tech? We about exploded when we talked about telegraph fax machines last year.
Y'all don't understand how much Corey helped us out on that Y2K episode, because we were like, the computers did what? Is that how that works? I don't understand. What? Just the three of us together. Corey could, I don't know. Like, we would probably make Corey's head explode if we tried to explain how we thought shit would work.
She'd be like, you guys are idiots.
You mean there's not a tiny little person in the little console making it all go? Yeah, I don't know.
There's not just a cast of actors behind my TV at any given moment and are just like projecting their acting onto my screen so I can see.
Can I make a confession and y'all not judge me? Because
maybe
when I was a teeny tiny little wee child, and I'm talking little, I mean like 5 little. I do remember this. I thought that the actors really died in movies and shows and reenactments. And I was like, how are they in multiple movies? They died last time.
And I love how you're not concerned about people just dying all the time. More that they reincarnated and acted in other movies.
I was like, why would they destroy so many buildings in New York if they're just going to have to rebuild them just for a movie? That is not right.
How wasteful.
No wonder the movies cost millions of dollars. I never claimed to be a smart woman. Okay, where are we? Oh yeah, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. That's
where we left off.
That's where we're at. So CDs, the magical CD-ROMs were coming. They're coming.
Mm-hmm.
The PCs have them for sure. So in 1993, we are in Generation 5 now. So this is 93 to 2006.
Okay.
So in 1993, when the first Macintosh was released, it used CDs. And because they are firmly established at this point. And 2 guys, Rand and Robin Miller, they were the founders of Cyan, like the color.
Okay.
CYAN. Is it Cyan?
I think it's Cyan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's something about garages that just make technology go. But they worked out of their garage.
Are you a real tech company if you didn't start in a garage?
No. Or your kitchen? Absolutely not. So they came up with the game Myst. And this was the first actual, like, real world looking game. Like, it was immersive. It was first person, everything. Like, you walked around and did things and things acted accordingly. And it wasn't just, it was way better than the last computer company we talked about. I forgot what it was called, like Sierra Tech or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. So it was amazing graphics for the time, and it sold 250,000 in a year.
Oh, wow.
And it was a bestseller for the next 3 years.
Wow.
They were millionaires. And they were like, we don't know. We had good insight, but we didn't have good insight, but we had good instincts. We knew what they wanted, but we just didn't know it was going to blow up like this.
Yeah. I mean, how could you? You could hope for it, but you can't know.
Right. So, other online games that are kind of going on at the time that have a completely different kind of vibe. Now, we have talked about, or I don't know if we have or not, but violence in video games have always kind of been there.
Yeah.
From the beginning. And it's at this point in the early 90s, it's just getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And there were two guys, John Romero and Tom Hall, and they ended up coming out with Wolfenstein 3D, where
Oh.
you literally just murder Nazis.
Yeah.
And it's quite graphic. I saw some gameplay. It's real crazy.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first-person shooter. And this is like kind of the game that coined that term.
Oh, okay.
Because they thought, if we could just make it to where you're not looking at the person, you're looking as the person, all that software that we would need to create your person, we don't need to do that now. We can put it into other things. And then you just focus on what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And more and more people are hooking up to the internet, and we're getting a lot of shareware. And they had this genius marketing idea that they would give out for free just a little bit of the game, leave you on a cliffhanger, and make you want to buy more of it. And it worked crazy well.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, right? Then, the next year, they came out with Doom.
Oh.
And that was released in 1993. Yes. We know Doom. And apparently when they released Doom, there were so many people waiting on, again, I don't know how this works. I'm imagining just like a waiting chat room, for a video game with online players before, it's like a space to wait, but be online.
Like an online waiting room?
Sure, yeah. There were so many people in it. They were having a hard time uploading it when it dropped. They had to tell people to get off. Please get off.
Bandwidth left.
Yes, please get off so I can upload this and then you can come back on. And Doom pushed it way further than Wolfenstein. And it had multiplayer capabilities. So you can network with a few computers. And they called it death matching. These dudes were just in their 20s.
Yeah. And
which is just wild.
Yeah.
Casually. So in the early to mid 90s, we saw a lot of very violent video games for both consoles and PC, and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and those could get quite gory. I don't think I realized how gory they got, but they got very gory. And this brought on very angry parents. And in late 1993, they formed a committee to investigate these games. And this is pretty much where our rating system comes from. And yeah, so they were blaming Columbine on video games.
I understand having a rating system for games, having a rating system for movies. You would not want your 7-year-old son playing Grand Theft Auto. It's completely inappropriate.
Yep.
That's not okay. But just in the same way, I have a lot of way, way deeper thoughts about this whole thing than we can get to on this podcast. But people love a scapegoat, and they will go to the first thing that they can just put the blame on that's even the tiniest bit hypothetically feasible without any kind of evidence to support their ideas in the first place.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It just Okay.
Yeah. And Sega actually created the Video Game Rating Council, and they ended up providing very descriptive labeling for every game sold. And, you know, all manufacturers actually just kind of unanimously agreed. They were like, yeah, that's fine. We get it. Like you said, we really don't want your 7-year-olds. That's not the target audience, the target market for this video game. We don't want your 7-year-olds playing these video games.
So don't buy these games for your kids either. That's the second part of the argument, is that parents need to do their research instead of just blindly buying whatever their kids want and then being, this game is too violent. How dare this game exist? When it's like, you bought this game for your child because they're a minor and don't have their own money.
Yeah, like,
sorry, that's my
you can put boundaries on things.
Yeah.
Anywho, not gonna get into that. So in the mid 90s, we see a big insurgence of a whole industry blossoming, which is movies based on video games. So the Super Mario Brothers live action movie was in 93. It had absolutely almost nothing to do with Mario, but whatever. Yeah. And then Street Fighter.
You said it twice.
Oh my god, I'm crying. Street Fighter. Oh my god. Okay. We're moving on. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna look at you anymore. So at this point, just as a baseline, the Genesis had definitely it had jumped its way in front of Nintendo's NES, the entertainment system at this point, in America, but the opposite was true in Japan, because the Genesis had just a bigger library of games and a lower price point at this point. So,
okay.
And also it said successful marketing, and I'm really thinking that slogan did it. What Nintendo don't? It's so petty. I love it. So, at this point, Sega comes out with the Saturn. And Nintendo, oh, I love this story. Nintendo partnered with Sony to come out with the PlayStation. And then Nintendo was like, I don't want to work for Sony anymore. And they switched and partnered with Philips. Well, then Nintendo and Philips' relationship fell apart, and Sony was like, you know what? Fuck y'all. I'm going to make my own console, and I'm keeping the name PlayStation.
That's awesome.
And they did. So in 1995, the Sony PlayStation hit the shelves, and it left that Saturn in the freaking dust. It had 3D capabilities and was $100 cheaper than the Saturn.
Wow.
And they also, the following year, came out with freaking Lara Croft.
Iconic.
Nothing like triangle titties that just
Yes.
gets people going.
Yes.
They also had Crash Bandicoot, and I loved Crash Bandicoot. That is the game that I would make Zach play because I could never beat it, and I wanted to see what would happen next, so I would make Zach play it for me so I could watch it.
That's so funny.
And it's sad now thinking about that I couldn't beat freaking Crash Bandicoot, but I was garbage, guys. Absolute garbage. So, Generation 6, you notice we're getting very, you know how Corey said in that Y2K episode that like technology kind of doubles every year?
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing that in these quick changes. So,
Yeah.
Generation 6 was 1998 to 2013. I am just a stuttering today.
That's a wide range.
It is a very wide range, yeah. So, the new consoles that came out was the Sega Dreamcast in the late 90s. And it absolutely bombed. I will say personally, I adored the Dreamcast. I loved the games that were on it. I loved everything about it. But it had a very weak third-party support, which meant very limited games. And it had a tarnished reputation because the Saturn did so poorly last time. And the PlayStation 2 came out in like 1999, 2000 and dominated the industry. And the Dreamcast just couldn't keep up. And it actually got Sega out of the console industry altogether.
Wow.
So Sega still makes software, but they no longer make the hardware.
Yeah.
And so in 1999, 2000, the PS2 comes out, and it could play video games, movies, and music on these CDs. And so, I mean, they dominated the industry. The PS2 was able to also play the first PlayStation games as well, and would become the best-selling game console of all time.
Wow.
Yep. So then we have another contender who's thinking about getting in the market. Sega's gone, and Microsoft is like, I could do that.
A piece of
I could totally do that. Let me get some of that console action. So, the first 6 months of them trying to get in, nobody was taking them seriously. They're like, you're gonna make something that's gonna beat out the fucking PS2?
I mean, they already have
crazy?
PCs, so
They've already got PCs. They've got the technology. They're like, yeah. So, after 6 months of nobody taking them seriously, they actually came out with the Xbox. And the Xbox was born in 2001. And when they released it with Halo. Halo, guys!
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that Halo was released with the Xbox. Do you know how many hours of my life has been spent playing freaking Capture the Flag on Halo? I only got marginally better. I drove a lot of Warthogs, and I flew a lot of Banshees, and I wrecked a lot. But it was so much fun. My brother would have like people over, and then we'd have multiple screens going in like one room, and we'd all be playing.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it was so good. And the Xbox was a just immediate hit. And then the GameCube came out, and Microsoft and Nintendo were still behind the PS2. When the GameCube came out, it was still behind the PS2 along with Xbox. So Microsoft and Nintendo, they're hanging in there. They're still behind PS2, but they're both doing very well. So let's back it up just a little bit and talk about the games themselves are changing. We've got, things like Lara Croft. We've got, the first person shooter over here. We've still got Mario and Sonic, and we've got all these really cool games. But some people were like, it'd be really cool if we could just play God. So a dude named Will Wright came up with Sim City back in 1989. Wow. It had like tax rates, and he was like the first to kind of build a city. And I'm assuming that it goes into like all the tycoon video games. I loved those. Give me a zoo tycoon. Give me a city. I love it. I live for it. So it was kind of slow going at first, but SimCity eventually caught on. And in 2000, he was like, what if we take this city and we kind of narrow down the focus and play just the Sims, just the people. Let's give them a life to create where you run the lives. So in 2000, he came out with The Sims.
You know what I just realized?
What?
Just like The Sims and like Sim City and The Sims. Is that short for simulations?
I think so. I really think it is. Hold on.
I just made that connection.
Sure. Yeah, they are.
I was like, The Sims. Because they simulate life.
I never thought about that either.
Oh, man. This reminds me of the time I was in an optometrist office talking with my eye doctor. And we were talking about like contact lenses and glasses. And I was like, wait, are contacts called contacts because they touch your eyeball? And she was like, yes.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I was like, I was in my 20s at the time. I was like, I'm a 20-year-old adult. And
oh my God.
Just now realizing this, she was like, okay.
Well, I know I've said this story on the pod before, but it's been a long time. So if we have new listeners, they won't know. I thought that the Hootie and the Blowfish song, when he said, 'cause the dolphins made me cry, I thought he was talking about actual, like, creatures, like the aquatic dolphins, like you were swimming with dolphins, and I thought that they made him cry. It was the football team. The football team made him cry. And I didn't realize that until Post Malone covered that song and he changed dolphins to cowboys, and I was like, oh, I was a full-ass 30-year-old woman and was like, I thought that the dolphins are making him cry.
That's so funny.
Hey, we're dumb together.
We are very silly gooses.
So, another game. We're just going to jump back into it.
Yeah.
We'll be goofy and then jump in. So, another game that kind of played God, which was kind of the first game that was, you build like a village. You know what I'm talking about? And you have to like fight other villages and you build little forts, and it was called Populous.
Okay.
So you could like throw a storm at these people, or you could, have invaders come in or whatever. You were literally playing God, and you were influencing multiple characters, not just like the one. And then around the early 2000s, AI came around in these games, and it adapted the gameplay to like you. So that's you could be like, I walk through a field, I found this NPC, and I asked this. It's going to kind of auto-generate something
Mm-hmm.
according to, and it personalizes the gameplay for you.
That's cool.
And we're seeing a big explosion of PC games like Quake,
Quake! I remember! Oh my god! So when we were in, like, middle school, one of our friends had, like, their dad owned a computer store, and we would go down and, like, we would all, like, get on the computers in the store, like, after hours, and we would all play Quake together, and it was my first exposure to, like, multiplayer games, and it was so much fun. I wanted to do it every day.
I think about that all that we like crawling through the things,
yes.
And there was like water in the cave, and like were we trying to shoot each other?
I think so.
Okay, or we were like on teams or something like that. I think
there were teams, and we were like ganged up against each other, like as teams.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Oh my god!
What I didn't know, you could have up to 16 people on the internet, like at a time.
Oh, wow.
And you had teams of players like we did, and they were called clans. Like, they had their own little lingo, and they had their own cons. Hundreds of people would meet every year and play together, and they had matching t-shirts.
That's so cute.
I love it so much. They had their own little clans, and these kids were playing, and they were like little baby clans. Oh my god.
That's so cute.
And it just kept evolving and evolving, where more and more people could connect on games like this and play together regardless of where you're at. And this is crazy. Like the early 2000s, now you could talk to somebody across the country.
Across the world.
Across the world, they were making an effort to meet in person. And I've seen this happen before. Like, people I know, they'll meet someone online and they're like, I get to meet this person in person. Like, we're making an effort to connect in real life, not just on the video game. I know. I love it. So, the video games aren't just for fun, The military's got to come in somewhere. It really, truly does. I mean... I hate to say it, but they just be popping in like, hey, we're gonna take this. Thank you. And the military had games. And this is even, I know I didn't mention it in the last episode, but this is dating back to some arcade games they had altered to help train some of their military. Well, in 2002, they gave away a game called American Army, and it is your typical like first person shooter kind of vibe, kind of your typical military games now.
Yeah.
And literally just gave it to the public to see who would make good soldiers, and would kind of test them on their smarts and their GI capabilities.
Okay. Could I share another story?
Yes.
So one thing about me, as I've mentioned before on the podcast, I'm a huge space nerd. And when I was a kid, I had the privilege to go to space camp. And one of those years, I think it was my 3rd year there. I only went for 3 years. There was a camp down the road called Aviation Challenge. So Space Camp was more like space astronaut theme.
Yeah.
Aviation Challenge was very like Air Force themed. Like it was more military. Like it even had like older kids like camping in the woods for a week for like survival.
Okay.
So one of the things that we did is we were kind of learning about how to be like a pilot. So we actually had like an airplane simulator that we would play to like practice. And there's actually like a tournament And maybe if I'd been better at video games, I would have done a little better. But I literally was like, oh, it's a joystick. I don't know.
Well, obviously, from the noises you made earlier, you never got the simulator down.
No, I clearly didn't. But it was cool. And I think these were like legitimate simulators that they would use to like train incoming pilots.
That's cool. That is so cool. I think I've been in one of those simulators before. Nick would probably be very good at it. I'm sure I would crash it immediately.
I definitely crashed a lot.
Yeah. Nick like plays those simulators, the airplane simulators for funsies, like online. Like,
well, and now they're really good. Like,
yeah.
There was a kid I worked with a couple years ago who was really into World War II era planes.
Yeah.
Like really into him. And I think it's called like War Thunder or something, but there's an online video game that's all about like World War II era planes and like dog fights and like you fight other planes. He could just like look at a plane and tell you the make and model and year of the plane.
I love that so much.
I know. I was like, this needs to be your job. Like whenever you graduate and like go to school or whatever, you need to do something with planes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's nice to know that they've been doing that stuff for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Because they came out with Full Spectrum Warrior, and this wasn't just a test if you were already good at it, but like it was basically teaching someone how to be a soldier. So like it would use real world tactics and commands and things of that nature. And they used it to train some soldiers without putting them in danger. And they did have a commercial version. But the documentary was like, it's really interesting that the government that said that video games are too violent were very quick to be like,
ooh,
here's one about war.
They're too violent. Perfect.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Listen, I don't mind, but like, it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So at this point, and this is kind of where the documentary left me off at, everything past this I had to go find elsewhere. In 2004, 145 million Americans played video games. I'd be curious to see how many do now. How many Americans play video games?
It's probably going to be really high because I think the definition of video game has expanded a lot.
Yeah. 190 million. Over 61% of the population play video games.
And honestly, maybe, and that may just be talking about like console PC games. Like if you further expanded that to like mobile games, I'm sure it'd be like even higher.
Yeah.
Because like my mom, she does not play any video. She played them when she was a kid, but I don't think she's played a video game in like 20 years. But she'll play that Candy Crush.
Yeah. Well, in 78, it says mobile gaming. Yeah, 78% of players reported playing mobile games.
Oh, okay.
So, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. And we're seeing in this generation a big insurgence of modifications.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doom creators actually just put the mods out there for people to do with what you please. Now you get some crazy mods. Like, I saw one, it was like, I don't know why they did this, but it was like the Batman Catwoman video game, and they switched the characters.
Yes,
so like Batman is walking around like Catwoman, and Catwoman's like
walking like Batman, like very stiff. I've seen that. There's also this one's a little bit older, but in Skyrim, in the very opening montage, there's a dragon that lands down and like attacks the town you're in, and someone modded it to be Thomas the Train Engine.
No.
And like literally like when the dragon's supposed to be roaring, you hear like train toots.
No.
It's so funny. And there's like fire raining down and like people being burned alive, and you just hear toots and like people exploding into fire.
Hilarious.
So funny.
I've seen like first person shooter games where they're like put SpongeBob's voice to it, and that's a trip and a half where SpongeBob's got a fucking AK. I don't know what's happening right now. Wild. So, yeah. Where are we at? Okay, shit. Degrees. Okay, so around 2004, people started realizing that this could be like oh my God, it could actually be a career. Video games have only been around for like 40 years at this
30,
point.
40
Yeah,
years, yeah.
At this point. Oh my God, it could be a career. So degrees at different colleges started being offered around 2004. And I swear this is probably one of the reasons why we had a giant upswing in technology in these last generations.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did our just technology in general get better, but God, just the leaps and bounds these video games have made. Sometimes I look at video game graphics now and I'm like, is that a movie? Is that? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
So, Generation 7, between 2005, 2017. In 2005 and in 2006, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 came out, along with Nintendo's Wii. And the PlayStation 3 was the only system that could play Blu-rays. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a CD and a Blu-ray? Like a DVD?
I think just like physically Blu-rays are smaller, and I believe they are like they can play higher frame rates. So it's like 720 pixels versus like 4,000 something pixels that can fit in a screen. So it's like higher video quality.
Oh, okay.
I think was like the main draw of Blu-ray, and it was like a special process that went into this is me just like from what I remember, because I didn't even own a Blu-ray disc until I was a legitimate adult, when they were already like getting out of style because everyone was just streaming online at this point. But I remember like being super fascinated by Blu-ray, and like, why is it so different? Why can't we play them? That's what very little I know.
Right. I don't even think I ever got a Blu-ray, because I was like, I'm not going to buy a whole other player just for that. That's crazy. But anyway, it was kind of successful in its own right, but whatever. And thanks to the Xbox 360 and the Wii, for the first time in a long time, Sony was having some competition, some stiff competition, and that it's had in a long time. And I guess since it got into the console industry. So the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 had generally similar graphic capabilities. Mm-hmm. But the Xbox 360 actually won more Game Critics Awards than other consoles in 2007. And it also had the Microsoft Kinect, which was kind of Xbox's reply to the Wii, even though it was like way more state of the art. It didn't catch on as quickly. And I have no idea why the Wii was so popular, because the technology in the Wii is so simplistic, and the graphics are not that great. Mm-hmm. It just like took the world by storm. I have no idea.
I think it was the novelty. I think it was like, because that was the first real console my family owned. And I think, like, when the Wii came out, I think it was right when, like, people are like, wow, kids are just spending too much time playing in video games indoors. We need to be more active. And by nature of using the Wii, you had to be more active because you had to use, like, your arms.
Oh, yeah.
And there were, like, fitness games. And, like, there was the whole, like, stand. I don't know.
Yeah, I had that board thing.
Yeah.
And it told me that as I'm telling you a whole lot about me. I had it in high school. I had Wii Fitness. And it told me that at 165 pounds, I'm 5'6.5", that I was borderline obese.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't it. That was probably some of the skinniest I'd ever been in my life.
Yeah. I had no...
I have I'm not built like that.
Yeah. No, it wasn't the most helpful. Yeah. Yes, it had its uses, but it was not always the most helpful, and it definitely didn't help body image in the time of, like, severe body critiques just socially in general.
Oh, God, the early 2000s were the worst for body image. Really.
Fucking sad,
like,
man.
If it had just said that, like, you're average, I'd be like, cool. But I was devastated when it was like, you're borderline obese.
Yeah. That's problematic.
That's very problematic. So, in 2011, Skylanders came out with Spyro's Adventure. Do you remember Spyro?
I never played it, but I remember a lot of people I knew loving Spyro, and I saw pictures of it everywhere.
I loved Spyro. I never beat it. I don't think I've ever beat a game in my life. But I truly don't. I just lose. I lose it. It's gone. There it goes. Bye-bye. Never beat it. So, but the game, the one that came out in 2011, had this little figurine that was sold separate. Of course it was.
Yeah, I remember the commercials.
You had to put the, like, little thing in there, and it would put your character into the game, which was really cool.
Do you remember? This is super... It's related, but it was like these, like, plushes that you could buy, and, like, they were very unique. And they had a code, and you went to a website that was like Neopets, and you put in the code, and then your little plush would show up in, like, your little zoo thing. I don't think I played it, but my sisters were obsessed with it, so I would help them because they were like, how do I use computer? I don't remember what it was called, but that reminded me of, like, it's like a Neopet thing, but it's not. It wasn't Neopets. Webkins.
That's right.
I googled toys with online code for game.
I wonder if they still make them.
I think they do.
So, Generation 8, we are looking at 2012 to 2020. And honestly, just increasing power.
Better technology.
The board. Yeah. So, video games started spreading through, like, social media. Mm-hmm. Facebook, phones.
Farmville.
Man, I fucking slayed at some Farmville. Angry Birds.
Oh, yeah. I liked Angry Birds.
Angry Birds made $200 million in 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Nintendo Wii U came in 2012. It did so bad it was discontinued in 2017.
Yeah. It just wasn't enough of an upgrade from the Wii.
Right. And the PlayStation 4 came out in 2012, and then the Xbox One came out in 2013. All of which were just like killing it.
Yeah.
But then when they discontinued the Wii U, Nintendo switched to the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the only one that can be both on the TV and a handheld game. And it popped off. That is what I play on. And so then Microsoft released a 4K ready console, the Xbox One X, in 2017. And then kind of followed it up in 2020 with the Xbox Series X and Series S. So, in 2020, which was a perfect time to release this game,
yes,
the PlayStation 5 came out, and everyone was at home, so what else were they gonna do?
Oh my god, I remember, like, the scalping that happened with the PS5. I mean...
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bought one anyway, because I didn't even own a PS4 at the time. I just got one for my birthday, like, last year.
Yeah.
I'm way behind on the times. And I just remember, like, not only was there, with, like, the disruption of the pandemic, was, like, no one working to build the things.
Right.
When it did come out, like, it was a very limited resource, and people were buying PS5s, and the prices of them skyrocketed. They're still expensive. Like, there's still, like, $500 consoles in 2020. Last time I looked, it was, like, 2020. It was in 2024, and I was like, why are they still so expensive? I'm not buying one until it goes down a couple $100.
No. Let's see. PS5. I want to see. No, $500 is too much. And if you think about, I'm seeing one for $364.
Oh, that's not bad. Well, it's still a little much more than I would pay.
Right,
for it, but...
right. And then this fancy one, it's got like extra controllers and stuff, is $490. So, yeah, it's crazy. And then we're gonna get into the 9th generation, which is 2020 to current.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. I could go on forever and a day about all these, like, my sister-in-law, Drona, told me about these really cool things. We don't have time to get into them. But if y'all are interested, look up the history of Square Enix, who is the current, like, leader of the JRPGs in Japan. They used to be called Squaresoft, apparently, in the 80s. And Blizzard, Diablo, and then the first games to come out on the PC in the 90s. So she wanted me to get more into that. Drona, I love you. I can't. We don't. We're already so far into this. But there are really cool things going on out there. I know we mentioned it in the NASCAR episode, but Zach brought it up again that you could literally race with these simulators and buy steering wheels and pedals and shit and actually, like, race like you're in NASCAR. And my cousin Drew mentioned how it can help kids with, you know, ADHD, being able to focus and helping in certain ways, and certain games can do certain things, and it's not just like everyone's shooting each other or just doing it for funsies. Like, it has actual helping capabilities. And it is a booming industry. Do you want to know how much they made in 2024?
How much?
$187.7 billion.
Ooh, that's so much money.
That big number.
It feels like all of the money on the planet. I don't...
Yeah.
I know it's not, but it feels
and it's
like
not. So, as my last little hoorah, Listen, I tried to look up the best games and the worst games. That is not how games work. Every article I found had a different idea of what the best games were and what the worst games were. So I'm just going to tell you the top 6 best selling, because that is a number it's a definitive number.
That's quantifiable.
Yes, quantifiable. So, top 6. We're going to go least to best. So, number 6, Mario Kart 8. More than 70 million copies have been sold. Number 5 is PUBG Battlegrounds. More than 75 million. Number 4, I was not expecting this one. I'm going to be honest. Wii Sports.
Well, it came free with the Wii, and the Wii was like a big console, so I guess that makes sense.
83 million copies sold.
Wow. Number
3, GTA 5. Over 200 million.
Wow, that's a big jump.
That came out like over a decade ago.
And people are still playing it.
Yes. Well, they haven't come out with a new one yet. Every year they're like, we're going to come out with GTA 6. Bitch, come out with it then. Number 2 is Minecraft, with more than 300 million copies sold. One of those is my son. And can you guess the last one?
I assume it's one we spoke about already.
We have spoken about it.
Is it Tetris?
It's Tetris. 500 million copies sold.
Wow. Okay, now I feel justified because I definitely went to a trivia a little while ago and it said, what's the most popular video game? And I said Tetris, and the answer apparently was Minecraft. And I was like, that's incorrect.
It is.
The answer is Tetris.
there are different different sources said different things. I went with the most up to date. So it was like November of 2024.
Yeah.
Was when this data came from. So it might have switched, but I don't feel like that's like a lot. 200 million difference.
And just like a couple months.
Yeah. I don't know. So that's what I got.
Wow. Yay.
Yay. Now we're 45 later.
Woo! Video games.
Yay, video games. Hope y'all enjoyed that. I did. I have a new appreciation for video games now, I think.
Yeah, I do too. As I've become a more casual enjoyer of games, I feel like I have like I can really appreciate like all the hard work up until this point where I get to shoot aliens in the face yet again.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone way smarter than us is doing really incredible work out there. We applaud you because it ain't us.
No, there's no way. I can't. Now that like I'm at the point where I buy my video games like online, I don't even have like physical copies of the games. I'm just like, how?
Yeah. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic you're doing on your side of the computer, but it makes my computer more fun. So thank you for that. And why and how. And also for the Switch, the little cartridges, because you obviously can't just download all the games or you'll just take up all your memory.
Right.
So we have the little cards, the little cartridges. How do they fit so much onto those teeny tiny little doohickeys?
I know. I don't get it. I mean, and they were small with the DS. Like both of my sisters had DSs, and I was like, how are their entire games on these tiny little cards? Yeah. It's magic.
I don't I don't comprehend. I don't understand. And I have to, like, I don't know if they completely get it, but my kids are, when they first got this Switch, they were very loosey-goosey. And I have to, like, I used to have to hold it up and be like, this is $60 right here. If you lose this through negligence, obviously, if an accident happens, I would replace it. If you lose this through negligence of just absolutely just not taking care of your stuff, I ain't buying you a new one. It's not happening. This is expensive. We have to take care of it. And it's finally, I think I might have beaten it into their heads enough, but like, so much technology in this little bitty tiny square.
They're basically like little TARDISes.
Yep, I like that. That feels right.
Each cartridge is a TARDIS.
I love it. Little TARDIS. It is bigger on the inside.
Opens up to a whole new world.
A sparkling place for video games. My mom can't tell me no or where to go. I'll stay up till midnight playing games. You're welcome for that, guys.
It was lovely.
Probably going to sound so bad when I listen to that later.
It's okay. It was great.
Fine. So we should get into socials.
Yes.
Probably. That's my turn. I say what they are. That's right. Okay, you can find us on Facebook.
Ill-Equipped History Podcast Group and Page.
We've done it so many times and I was just patiently waiting for you to start. You can find us on Instagram.
At Ill-Equipped History.
You can email us.
Ill-equippedhistory@gmail.com.
You can find us on TikTok.
At Ill-Equipped History.
And, most importantly, stickers included, Patreon.
Patreon.com/Ill-Equippedhistory. Please join and check out our new stickers that Emily designed. They're awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't they say, like, we run a tight ship show?
Yeah.
It's really
Run
cute.
a tight ship show.
It's got a pirate ship on it.
I love them. I'm going to put one on my Jeep, and I will send you pictures of them eventually. I keep forgetting. I've had a crazy week. I woke up this morning thinking I'm going to do some laundry and clean the house and get like a baseline because it's Monday. And then I put on an audiobook, and the next thing I know, I'm sanding a ceiling. So, it just, we went off the rails today, and I shouldn't have done that, I realize. But, like, we're in it now. So
it's fine.
It's fine. But if y'all have been keeping up with my house shenanigans, I finally purchased paint. I ordered it online. I will go pick it up tomorrow. We're almost done.
So close.
Kind of. But then we have to lay floors. But it's fine. I can do that. If I could never touch a ceiling again in my life, I will be a happy camper. So there we are. Definitely don't buy your 7-year-old an R-rated game. It does not stand for really good.
No. Do just a quick Google search. Say, hey, just look up Grand Theft Auto. What's that about? And then you'll see it's about crime. And you'll say, oh, no, I should not get that for my very young child. That's not a good idea.
Would you like to hear a funny little story?
Sure.
As we leave. So, Nick plays Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
So, when my son was very young, probably 3 or 4, he was talking very well, pretty much full sentences, but he would see GTA and he used to call it stealing cars. And then he would see Red Dead Redemption, and he called it stealing horses. And he would go up to strangers and be like, Dad and I were stealing cars last night. Meaning they were playing GTA. Like, Nick wouldn't do anything graphic while he was there. But, like, they would, like, steal a car and, like, drive around or whatever. And he would just tell strangers that him and his dad were stealing cars. And Nick would be like, no, a video game, GTA. We're playing GTA.
People are like, why are you playing GTA with your toddler?
Yeah, listen, we were just driving around, okay? We're not perfect parents, okay?
That's so funny. Oh,
yeah, I know.
Stealing cars and stealing horses. Kids really do say the darndest things.
They do, and that's what we call it now. I'm like, you playing stealing yours? All right, you know.
Go play your favorite video game.
Yeah.
After listening to this, and just immerse yourself for a couple hours.
And if you're really good at creating video games, just go to your garage. Because that seems to be the hot spot.
Yes.
Really. For a successful
video game. That's where the magic
game.
happens.
I don't care where your desk is. Take it to your garage right now.
And if you don't have one, get one. Get a garage.
Yeah. Get a shed. I don't care. Just be out there. Do the work, guys. Come on. Oh, God.
Okay, bye.